said it was the last time, but you keep coming back to tell me sorry that you take back all the things you said just to hurt me. Our love just went cold, but I'm still burning. Our love just went cold. Why? I keep on making the same mistake. I always let you back in when I begin to get myself together again. You are back once more like everything's the same. I tried to build my walls up, but you're taking them down. It's tearing me apart, I can't pretend. Now I have to get over you again. You said it was the last time, but you keep coming back to show me sorry you have changed now. But it's the same old story. Our love just went cold, but I'm still burning. Our love just went cold. Why? I keep on making the same mistake. I always let you back in when I begin to get myself together again. You are back once more like everything's the same. I tried to build my walls up, but you're taking them down. It's tearing me apart, I can't pretend. Now I have to get over you again. Have to get over you again. Have to get over you. I keep on making the same mistake. I always let you back in when I begin to get myself together again. You are back once more like everything's the same. I tried to build my walls up, but you're taking them down. It's tearing me apart, I can't pretend. Now I have to get over you again. Have to get over you again.
I've been walking on the same shore ever since the time I left you on the dark side with a promise and a rhyme. And everybody else around are beating down on me to leave the only good thing a disaster meant to be. And if I was to be on trial for every wrong I did, the courthouse would be filled with people waiting to get rid of the one that ripped their lives apart.
someone totally unreliable. You're always my first call. I have learned not to ask for the seemingly impossible, but what would I do without my sweet downfall? You were always my spark plug, a flame to my gasoline, like injecting some wonder drug. My baby libertine, my baby libertine. When I'm a little bit low on steam and thunder, I know the place to go. It's one of the few things that never fails me. I love when you shoot me with your Cupid's bow. You were always my spark plug, a flame to my gasoline, like injecting some wonder drug. My baby libertine, my baby libertine. My baby libertine.
you shake it and loosen it up. After all of your summer tea, breathe. Keeps, yet you give up so easily. Everyone has a secret dream, but I swear you got more of a scheme. You're so carefree. Leave perfection, get your head forget about staying sane. Oh, oh, we know love lies, we know pain. Your lack of will is your ball and chain. Once you set that fire into motion, you can move oceans. You can move oceans, no doubt about. Possess fire, you hold rain, but you forget about staying sane. Oh, oh, we know love lies, we know pain. Your lack of will is your ball and chain. Ooh, you possess fire, you hold rain, but you forget about staying sane. Trees aren't green, the ocean is gray, sky is a vague blue, come my way. My room is a mess, it could use a hand. My favorite TV shows to capture in. I know must get it right, must get back in the fight. This can't be a surprise, I think I let it slide. I'm sleepwalking through all of my problems, I know I can't make it through. Every night it's the same, I keep running fast, left and right, wondering where my head's gone now. I'm sleepwalking through all of my problems, I know. All of my problems, I know. Where did it go? The feeling of thirst, desire to be a rock in my heels. I'm numb as a poison, flows in my veins. Guess I got used to avoiding the pain. I know must get it right, must get back in the fight. This can't be a surprise, I think I let it slide. I'm sleepwalking through all of my problems, I know I can't make it through. Every night it's the same, I keep running fast, left and right, wondering where my head's gone now. I'm sleepwalking through all of my problems,
break. Maybe that's why I fade into this bitter taste. I think I'll let it be.